Welcome to the AlzAuthors podcast. We're so glad you found us. We're the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. I'm Mary Ann Shuko, a registered nurse, author, and dementia daughter.
And I'm Kitty Norton, a licensed educational psychologist, dementia daughter, AlzAuthor, and coach focused on the sandwich generation. Please join us for bi-weekly episodes with our authors as we talk about their dementia journeys, sharing intimate details and painfully obtained knowledge to help others currently on that path.
We hope these stories offer you comfort and support as we strive to break the silence and stigma surrounding a dementia diagnosis.
May one of our authors speak to your experience.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
So hello everyone, and welcome to Film 4 in AlzAuthors' very first film festival, and it's in celebration of our 10th anniversary as AlzAuthors. So it's very special for us, and we've been so pleased with how it's going. Thank you for spending your precious time with us. I'm Kitty Norton, a manager and board member of AlzAuthors, the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. And I'm the author of Building a Legacy of Love, Thriving in the Sandwich Generation. We have a terrific lineup of films to not only educate you about the realities of Alzheimer's and dementia, but to provide you with insider insights and strategies from filmmakers who have navigated their own dementia journeys. Our hope is that you will take away at least one piece of information or tip to ease your journey. Today, we're meeting with Kitty Norton, creator of the film Wine, Women, and Dementia. In 2016, Kitty Norton left her job as an NBC assistant editor in Los Angeles for her hometown of Portland, Oregon, to walk, stumble, crawl with her dementia mother to death's door. When Gloria moved on to her next adventure in 2021, Kitty created and directed the documentary Wine, Women, and Dementia to celebrate and honor family caregivers. Fun fact, Kitty had just been hired as an assistant editor on the first season of This Is Us when her father died. She had to turn it down to relocate from LA to her hometown of Portland, Oregon. I thought that was so poignant that happened for you, something amazing and then sidelined.
It was a great show, and I was so excited to work on it because I got to read the script before it even aired the first, and that would have been bank too.
I know.
6 years, I'd have been doing really well.
Life just does take its turns.
Yes, it does. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's great because we're going to have a fun time here, and I'm glad that you jumped in. Kitty made Wine, Women, and Dementia to honor this journey with her mother, to spread awareness of the caregiver side of the equation in dementia, and to celebrate family caregivers, to let them know they are not alone and that they are worthy of being seen, heard, and celebrated alongside their dementia person on this difficult road to the end of life. Wine, Women, and Dementia has been a featured selection in several film festivals, including the Malibu International Film Festival, Heartland International Film Festival, Santa Monica International Film Festival, Richmond International Film Festival, and it was given the Jury Award and Audience Award at the 2023 Vero Beach Film Festival. Recently, and I love this, Wine, Women, and Dementia has been used to enlighten and inform many in the medical community. The American Women's Medical Association made it available to its entire association, and the Mayo Clinic this year used it in their training of forward-facing employees who generally work closely with caregivers. So I think that's pretty cool. If you haven't had a chance to view them all yet, you can watch all of the films in our film festival that we're showing through the end of the year. So I'd like to introduce my podcast partner, Marianne Shuko, a founder and manager at AlzAuthors, who also started this podcast back in 2020. A registered nurse, Marianne is the author of Blue Hydrangeas, an Alzheimer's love story. So welcome, Marianne. I'm glad to have you here.
Thanks, Christy. I enjoy being co-host this time.
I know, it's nice. It's nice to trade a little bit. So we are recording, and we will post the recording to our YouTube channel and also for our podcast, Untangling Alzheimer's and Dementia. And you can listen to it on all the major podcast sites and find it on our website at alzauthors.com. So we ask that you remain muted. We will be taking questions, at which time, if you want to speak or ask a question, just raise your hand or leave a message in the chat box. I'll call on you and you can unmute to interact with our guests. So let's get started. Welcome, Kitty. Welcome back to the podcast. We've had you on before, and it's great to have you again.
Thank you. I am so grateful that you guys have created this film festival and this ability to get together and talk with other caregivers or even people living with dementia who have showed up today to kind of chat about their journeys and talk about the film. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I recently rewatched your film to get ready for this, and I must say, I find something new each time. Like literally each time I find something new, a little gem, a little nugget. I love that you have so much footage of your mom from different points in her life and your life with her. I wanted to know more about that. Like, did you ever think you would do a film? Was that just, or because you have the ethic of a filmmaker, it was just your thing? We take family photos, we take family films.
So yes, I'll answer that, but just in the chat, if anybody wants to put in if they've seen the film or
Oh.
haven't seen the film yet, that would be great. No, I did not think I would be making a film at all. Because I was in the editing world, even if I was just an assistant editor, I would make films for my family, and my mom was one of 9 children. So we have a huge family on her side. So I actually made a 45-minute documentary about my family.
Oh,
And so I was from like 2008, I was filming everybody, whether they liked it or not.
there's Kitty again with her
I
camera.
know, run. And it so annoyed my mother that was the biggest thrill of it. So when I started writing the blog about dementia family caregiving, I loved, not only was the process of writing and talking about our days and getting them out there so important to me, but also the creativity of creating the images,
Yeah.
making little videos to go with the topic of the blog. And it wasn't until after Mom died and I started thinking about going to meet some of these great friends that I had made through the blog that I started to think about, I know we're going to have some crazy conversations, and those conversations might be really helpful for other caregivers. So
Yeah.
maybe
Okay.
we'll make a film, a documentary. And then I hired a camera guy and a great sound guy, and we decided to do Seattle, Allison Schreier first, a
Okay.
month prior to the big production happening.
Okay.
So I thought, I'll go up there, we'll do that one. I'll come home, watch the footage. If it sucks, we'll just cancel this whole thing and I'll save a whole lot of money. And if it doesn't, we're going to make a documentary. And we did 4 hours of footage and I watched that. I was just like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is stuff I wish somebody would have talked about this stuff when I had gotten started. So
Yes.
that's how it
That's
turned into a big overblown thing that I was like, instead of just, taking an inch, I'm going to go 500 miles on this.
well, so glad you did. And so your blog, Stumped Town Dementia, right? That was amazing. And I really loved how you quickly were just simply at home with all of your blog followers. It was as if you knew each other intimately, even though in most cases you had never been person to person, like face to face. And so I did want to ask you more about that. I'm glad you asked about how many people saw it. And it looks like from the chat, quite a few. So that's fantastic. Um, yeah, thanks. And so, can you talk a little bit about how that felt for you to finally be face to face with people who, I mean, you must have felt from this blog and the way people communicated, how you all communicated with each other or with you, like how was it to finally meet them face to face?
Well, first, I think that everybody who goes through a really, really difficult situation, when you find other people going through it, it's almost an immediate connection. Maybe not 100% of the time, but most of the time you're just like, oh my gosh, you're doing this too? How are you doing this? How are you making it? What's your tactic for this, and what when this happens, what do you do? So that's how it was so easy to connect with the people who were connecting to our stories. So they found me first, and then I got to use them as just friends virtual, friends online, friends who would, comment on the blog, and I'd be like, "Ah, thank you so much." And how are you making this work? And, Roseanne and I used to Zoom every once in a while. Veronica and I emailed each other. Matt and I were
Mm,
we met on X, Twitter.
right.
Um,
Formerly known.
yeah, yeah, formerly known as Fun. Um, so yeah, it was easy every time we pulled up to a house,
Hmm.
because the deal was, I'm going to come visit you. I'm going to bring a box of pizza and a couple bottles of wine, and a film crew is going to show up before me, and then we're just going to talk all night. How
Yeah.
you feel about that? They're like, yes. I'm like, great. I'm also going to plug into your electricity, and the van's going to stay there overnight.
That's
So
awesome.
every time my travel companion, my friend Beth, and I would pull up to a house, and just be these jitters, like, oh my gosh, what if we don't like each other? What if they don't like me or I don't like them? And we're here for the next, at least 16 hours. We don't have anywhere else to go. But
Did you,
that wasn't the case.
I
It
was
was
just going to
never the
ask,
case.
did you ever run into that?
No.
Yeah.
Um, we would get out of the RV, and the film crew had already done the formal sit downs with just that person. Um, and so we would show up after that, and we'd just start talking. We'd start talking over dinner. We'd start talking as soon as we stepped out of the RV. The film crew would get after us and be like, "Hey, you guys, knock it off. These are stories we need on tape. We're not set up." So
Yeah.
then we go to the corner with like,
Let's go back
that
over
dude's
this
so
one.
mean.
Well,
So yeah.
in watching it a couple times, you bring up so many issues because it is, I mean, it's just so much, right? Caregiving for someone with dementia has so much more going on there, just the caregiver journey. Um, but things like money dilemmas, home care versus memory care, the pain of diagnosis, all of these things that need to be delivered, that you're delivering now to caregivers who may be in this now. And I think it's such a gift. I found it really, really informative, but it was so relatable. It was so relatable. And one of the things I wanted to ask, and maybe people can put this in the chat, what's one initial word from of your impression of the film? And for me, it was community, which has been, I mean, that's my touch point word. Like for years, that's been my thing. And it was community and how powerful that is. But I see, Chuck says humanity. Yes. Honesty, humor. Yeah. Like we don't think we can laugh, but there are things, right? That are just, yeah, it's amazing. Compassion. Oh my gosh, these are great.
Yeah, these are all
Yeah.
really good answers, you guys. I'm so glad these are the things that hit for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Community was hugely important to me, a big theme of the film, without beating people up over the head about it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, here's what's possible when you find those people that you can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
You can use levity. You can let off some steam. You can find yourself again in some humor, and kind of tweak your perspective a little, so that maybe the next time those things are happening in your household, you can think back on that conversation and kind of be like, oh, Can't
Yeah.
wait till I talk to Sally again.
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
top her this time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe because you'd had the blog going and people felt like they knew you. They knew Lickety Glitz, which was also an awesome name. I just love it. And having met you a few times, I can see why this is your name. It's perfect for you. So it's great. But yeah, you just had this instant moment with people. And I think it felt to me like people walked away from having been filmed with you feeling even richer and really comforted. Did you find that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. We do actually have a cast member here, Roseanne, if you can speak to that.
Yeah.
I know we're all still friends,
Yeah. Okay, that
so
was
I
it.
know
Yeah.
clearly they didn't like absolutely go, oh, thank God she's gone.
In
Um,
spite of it, right?
how did you feel, Roseanne? Was it that deep of a response for you, or was it just like, wow, this is great and I like this person?
Yeah, I think it was that deep of a response. I think it was one of those things where, um, I totally identify with the, oh my goodness, she's going to be here like forever. What's going to happen? Because we hadn't been in the same room together. And, quite frankly, it didn't matter because our hearts knew each other.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the body's attached to the heart when we were in the same room. So it was it was crazy. It was crazy because when you think about it, it's like, wait, you drove across the country and there's a camera crew here and what are we doing? Like you really didn't know how it was going to go, but I think it did. And I would bet if you asked everybody, if you asked Matt and Allison and all of it, we're tied together now.
Mm.
Yeah.
We are tied together, and it was deep. It was very deep, and it was emotional, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
That's
Awesome. And
wonderful.
Roseanne cooked for us. She wouldn't let me bring a pizza. So that was
Yeah.
awesome too. And after the crew wrapped, we stayed up a little bit longer and drank a little bit more. And then I went to bed supposedly and got lost in Trapp, Pennsylvania for 2.5 hours. And by the time I got back, I was so mad at Roseanne and Beth.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Oh
Beth
Why
my
kept
gosh.
couldn't you
saying,
come look for me?
I kept saying, we have to go look for her. And Beth was like, she does this. She goes out every night and walks. And I'm like, it is 3 o'clock in the morning. We have to go look for her. She's like, no, we don't. It's fine. And I'm like, all right, this doesn't feel right to me, but okay.
Oh,
It
I was
wasn't
so
okay.
mad. I was so mad.
She was
Wasn't
so
until I
mad.
woke up the next morning that I knew the right person to be mad at was me. What was I
Oh.
thinking?
This sounds like another movie, so we might
Oh
have to,
God.
Oh,
oh
it,
my
it
gosh.
was. It was.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Roseanne. And you have also gone on to do a lot to support caregivers, so
Yep.
fantastic.
You are very
Um,
welcome. It was my pleasure.
So,
Marianne, you had something to say, so I'm gonna let you jump in.
Yeah, I did. I thought that asked about the reactions of the people who were appeared in the documentary and were able to tell their stories. And my I'm assuming that they felt validated, that here was somebody who was taking their experience and like, elevating it and making something of it, because so many people, they just suffer alone and they don't know that other people are also going through this, and there's nobody ever around to say, oh, you're doing a great job, or this is how it is. And I think that is very validating, as it is for like a lot of the authors in our organization who tell their stories and get their book selected, and we elevate it in our way.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kitty? You think that was part of it?
uh, for the cast members, I can't
Yeah.
speak, but I can tell you we have an audience survey, which I need to get that link in the chat for everybody. We have an audience survey that one of the questions is, have you felt validated as a caregiver after watching this? And it's just been astonishing. People finally feel like they aren't the only person in the world in this journey. They still may be having a hard time connecting with people locally, but they understand that what they do is valid, that it's important, that they deserve to celebrate it, that they deserve to have some happiness in this journey, whether however they find it. So that's huge for me. wanted people to really see that. And at the end of the screenings that I attend in person, it's almost like whether it's 10 people or 100 people, they just erupt afterwards with like, this is the first time I've seen myself in this journey. And they aren't the people on the screen, but it's their stories. They could have practically told the same story verbatim from last night, and I've had people say that in the Q&As, like, this is what it's really like. And now I know that I'm not alone. So that's huge. That really
Yeah,
makes me proud of what we did, what we accomplished.
that's awesome. And I know gosh, I believe so strongly in support systems and support groups and things like that because I know it's easy to feel very alone. And, one of the things I wanted to throw out to the group is, were there moments that you connected to personally in the film? And for me, I think I really connected with Grace and her level of denial, like how she talked about I miss this, or I was the last one to this party, of my family. And I felt like that. And that was a really hard thing for me personally. Another thing that I thought was really, I mean, I wrote, excuse me, I wrote down all the names of all the folks. And I was also, the first person you talk to is Allison. And that was a really tough one, right? Like that was so, her story is so unique, I think, and yet I don't know, maybe this happens a lot more than we're aware of, but this really gets to the money issue and the fact that that they took the step of divorcing to be able to finally financially have their needs met. I mean, that's just devastating. And yeah, so your film just really got at a lot of things like that. So yeah, I mean, folks, if you have something that you want to, let me ask another question, and that is a couple of the themes of the film are the importance of community and finding ways to celebrate life on the road to death. And so if anyone has some thoughts about how did that move you during the film, watching of the film? I know, of course, I said earlier, community is one of my words, and so that really got me. But it's hard, and I loved that you had so much humor in there that people could hear. So if we have any folks who
I
want to
don't know
jump
how to
in.
get through tough stuff in my life without humor, and my parents are the ones that gifted me this humor. So if mom's pissed off about this movie, well, it's her fault. But I will say in your question or your talk about Allison, that is much more common than you would think. I had never
Wow.
heard of it either, but it's got a name for it. Like when you would talk to a lawyer, it's like a Medicare divorce or something to
Right.
that effect, because you are trying to not go broke for very, very long diseases. So it's not just dementia that people do that. She had two young boys,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and if they ran through everything, how was she going to get these kids into school? How was she going to survive and get them food? I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah. In the chat, someone writes, Maxine writes, I was so impressed by your conversation about the hell of what the future held and that you rejected that point of view immediately. Maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, Maxine, I'm glad that really resonated with you. And that was I think Allison really illustrates that best with her story about the woman who called her. I don't know if you remember, but her social worker connected this woman that she was also helping to Allison to kind of give her some guidance because she had small children and her husband had the same frontotemporal
Mm-hmm.
uh, that Allison and Evan were dealing with. And that phone call just had her say, I am not going to just, this woman is just desperate. She is so negative. And clearly, like, she didn't want to invalidate her experience, but she's just said right there and then, I made the decision not to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, it wasn't one particular point of view. It was more, having taken over from my dad for my mom, I couldn't understand why all the media that I was accessing to try and find some answers and some clue as to what would be in the future, everything was just devastating. I mean, it was like, geez, I might as well just put a pillow over mom's head tonight and get this all thing over with.
Mm,
It was horrible, and we
mhm.
weren't having a great time because we didn't know what we were doing, and dementia doesn't allow you to have a great time, but we weren't there. We weren't crying all the time. We weren't, we were finding ways to still bring life to mom's journey and to us. So,
Mhm. No,
Mary talked about a Randy Newman song. I haven't heard that song before. Mary, I'll have to look that up after we're done.
yeah, one of our other filmmakers, Mary Crescenzo, says the
Ah,
humor in it makes me think of the Randy Newman song "Time of Your Life," a humorous tune and a message about death. And so that's great. Well, yes, we will have to revisit that song. So that's great. Um, but yeah, the humor I think is something I, like you, Kitty. Somebody I have to find the funny. I have to find the funny to get through it because because the other is so there all the time. But it's also like life is just weird, you know. Life is
it
weird.
didn't help me. It felt like I was getting beat up every day by what everyone else thought about this journey. And I kept thinking to myself, not everybody can feel like this. Maxine, I'm curious for you, did you already kind of come to that conclusion too? Or was the film something that kind of helped you say, hey, there's more to this than just the sadness?
When my mom's been gone since 2019, and my brother died 3 years ago. So we've had a sort of continuous time with this. And when my mom was diagnosed, her neurologist called me at work and said, and at the time, there was no definitive test. And he said, "Well, I've diagnosed Alzheimer's. I'm sorry, but that's what it is." And I said, "Well, okay." And he said, "There's no definitive diagnosis except for autopsy." And I just thought for a minute and said, "I think it's a little early for that."
That would have been my response too.
Yeah,
Right.
and he laughed and I laughed and my mom laughed. So I
Yeah.
thought, okay. But my that when my mom first heard that that might be what it was, she was a funny person and a smart person, and she just burst into tears. And for a minute I thought, "Oh my God." And then I thought, "No, it's called living with dementia."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's got to be the point of view and find the humor.
Kind of a funny story when my mom was diagnosed. She didn't want anybody to know, and it took her a lot, took a while to get her there. So I went with her to that doctor's appointment, and she had a she changed doctors after this, but she had just had a very somber doctor who said MCI and you're going to move into some kind of dementia. And kind of left it at that. And my mom's face just fell, and I could tell she was getting ready to cry. And the doctor gave us some pamphlets and was ushering out the door. And I put my arms around her. I said, "Okay, mom, it's time to get out there and start forgetting things." And that made her smile, and it kind of brought her back from the brink and gave her a little bit of a smile to get out of there with some dignity and cry later. But yeah, right from the start. That's kind of the sense of humor we had about it, and we were able to utilize, and not all the time. Clearly, if you've
Yeah.
seen, especially if you've seen the full feature, you realize that I really blew it. I really blew it sometimes.
You know, that was the other thing is that I found that to be watching the full film, it is hard, I think, as a caregiver. At least it has been for me. I will speak from my position. It has been hard. Even my work with AlzAuthors has been so healing in many ways, but it's also been hard because I interact with more and more people who've maybe their journey was a little different, and I think back to all the like I over focus sometimes on the mistakes I've made. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But, in the end, I have to forgive myself and also realize not only forgive myself, but pat myself on the back because I showed up, I was with them, and both my parents had dementia. My dad had vascular dementia, my mother had Alzheimer's, but I was there. I was there every step of the way. And we did have beautiful times as much as we could. And my kids interacted with my mom and dad in beautiful, beautiful ways, and my husband. And it's like all those times when I wasn't my best, when I wasn't the best daughter, I wasn't the best wife, I wasn't the best parent. I mean, that's life too. And it's like,
Yeah.
but continuing to show up and always trying to learn, always trying to, and dignity. That's another thing, right? Like I love how you said that to your mom, like, let's get out there and start forgetting to lighten the mood a little bit, but it's giving her a chance to not, it's not so heavy. We're going to get through this. And the dignity was really important to me. It's like, I wanted my parents to have that, you know?
I wanted her to be treated like a person,
Yeah.
and not just this. And I did this for a while, this precious little thing that, oh, we can't upset mom. She's dying. She's got vascular dementia. We can't do this. We can, oh, mom doesn't like that. Oh, mom won't want to do that. And finally, it's like, you know what? Mom's had to negotiate things that she didn't want to do and didn't like to do her whole entire life. And so have I. And we'll just figure it out. Putting mom into a day center, was really hard for me, especially. And part of it was because I was just afraid that, oh my gosh, she's not gonna know where I am. She's not gonna know where Lexi is. She'll be crying, she'll be upset. And I finally just had to say to myself, even if she has dementia, she still needs to keep those social skills honed. They're much less than they were. They're going to continue to get much less, but they're going to get much less a lot faster if she doesn't have to practice them. That didn't stop me
Mhm.
from looking in the window the first time I dropped her off. But it was such a good thing. And I didn't realize it was not only a good thing for me, it was a great thing for mom.
Yeah.
She got to see other people besides me and Lexi and interact and have to navigate her world. And it kind of kept her chops together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then she'd come
Absolutely.
home and throw things at us.
Yeah. I mean, I actually loved the feistiness in your mom and I loved it. And it was, you know, that strength shows up in different ways. So we have
Yeah,
to take it for what it is, you know?
I agree.
Um, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with your sister and how it was for you guys to be together? That had to be very hard. I know you could sort of touch on that a little bit.
It was. It was. Yeah. I would say for me, the most painful moments in this journey were things between my sister and I, not what was going on with mom. We knew where mom's trajectory was going, but we were
Right.
so tiptoeing around each other that sometimes it was just heartbreaking to
Mm-hmm,
have
mm-hmm.
to try and navigate. Um, but to our credit, neither one of us ever doubted that the other person was absolutely there to support mom. And we knew we couldn't do it alone, and we had to figure out how to do it together. So sometimes it was smooth and sometimes it was really
Rocks.
rocky. And, she'd be here for her 2 days and we barely spoke. But that was one of the reasons the film is called Wine Women in Dementia, even though some people think it's because they're going to get scolded about drinking wine. Opposite. But my sister and I could connect at the end of one of her caregiver days when she was living in the house that day, and we could connect over a glass of wine and talk about mom. If we couldn't talk about ourselves, we could talk about mom and what was going on and what the other one was seeing, and maybe what funny thing happened today or what terrible thing happened last week, or
Yeah.
so that was something that helped us connect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know there were a couple other pieces in the film, like Lindsay and Matt, both together, you know, a married couple, but they're both caring for um, parents. Each of them had parents. And then I think Grace's sister was in the film with her. And
Hmm.
it's just those relationships get taxed. And both my siblings lived far away. So when they would come, I had to let go of it has to be done this way for mom. I had to let go of that and just be like, you just need to do what you're comfortable with and everything will be okay. And I knew that
Yeah.
everyone would survive and it might not look the same, but it'll be okay.
I think that's a big thing, and I get kind of frustrated sometimes when I see like do's and don'ts lists on social media, because for me, a lot of times caregivers feel like they can't allow anybody else to access their person unless they access them the exact same way that they do. And as far as I'm concerned, you don't ever want to alienate anybody in this journey. Your nosy aunt who comes over and upsets your mom and then leaves after an hour. Well, later on, when your mom's past time being upset, that nosy aunt may be the one who comes over and spends 4 hours with her, and you get to go do something else. I would tell people, because we kept people very active in mom's life and not always on the up and up. Sometimes I'd be like, mom hasn't seen this person in a long time. We're just gonna drive by their house and see if they're home.
Yeah.
We're gonna invite them to a movie, mom's treat, and then keep people connected, because the more they saw her, the less afraid they were, because they saw it more gradually than a year goes by and they're like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. Um, so that's one thing that I think people kind of fall into. And there was someone who insisted on talking to mom about, don't you remember, and showing her pictures. Don't you remember? And mom would get really sad because she didn't remember. But for me, I would just say to this person, I'm not having a whole lot of luck with that. So here's how I kind of do stuff. And that gets a conversation going with mom, instead of like, I know you want to reminisce, but why don't you just try telling her about it? Just show her the picture and don't say, do you remember? Just, this was the funnest day, Gloria. We did this and this and this. And see if if she wants to spend more time with you. And so I would just offer suggestions, but I'd also just let people make their mistakes.
Yeah.
I was making mine.
Yeah.
Mom was making hers.
Yeah. Yeah.
People get
Absolutely.
shy about being a part of the dementia journey, and I'm like, why? We're doing everything wrong here. It's not like you can outdo us.
It makes me think of times when we hired babysitters for our kids. And my theory was, you know what? You get to do whatever you want. You want to have popcorn for dinner? Okay. It's not going to ruin their lives.
Yeah,
They'll come back
yeah,
to us and we'll get them back on a routine. If they stayed with my parents for a weekend, it was like, you get to do whatever. You want to watch 3 hours of videos with grandma and grandpa? All right, bring it. Because I know you'll come back and you won't be completely ruined. We're all right.
right,
So you just have
right.
to kind of let people be who they are with them. And so I think that's really good advice. And it is
And
hard.
it was a hard transition for me to make. I don't know if you came into parenting just naturally knowing that, but I had to kind of figure that part out.
Yeah, no,
It
no,
Just
there
back
was
off. Let them do their thing, man. They're fine.
yeah, yeah. This is so great. I love the different elements you're sharing with us now about your mom too. One of the things if people are still on the call, or in the community out here, if you want to unmute and talk a little bit about how you have found your people, your caregiver community. How have you found them? Where have you found them? And I know I didn't have as much of that when I was actually going through it. I have found so much more now, having been part of AlzAuthors, that's been a community for me, and I think that's something that we love to do with AlzAuthors. That's why we have the podcasts and the books and the so folks, if there's anybody out there who wants to chime in or put it in the chat, we'd love to hear, how did you find community and how have you continued to grow that? And what is that? How has that helped you in your journey? And maybe Kitty, you can talk a little bit about was that an impetus for you to start the blog to build your self community?
Um, no.
Oh, okay.
I started the blog because I needed some way to still be creative.
Okay,
And then
yeah.
community joined around it. I didn't know if anybody was ever going to read it. I used to go and click on the link like 5 times a day just so it looked like somebody was reading it.
I love that. I love
In
that.
case somebody showed up and thought they were the only ones. I wanted to
Yeah,
read.
yeah. Marianne, how about you?
Well, I didn't really have a lot of community during my caregiving journey with my stepfather. My parents were living 250 miles away from me. So I had my siblings and we had family members, but they just weren't on the same like wavelength that I was on. I was a nurse, so I kind of knew what we were dealing with. But what I had was the beginnings of AlzAuthors, and it was Vicky and Jean, my co-founders, because this all started to happen in 2015, 2016, which was when AlzAuthors was formed, when we just started working together. And so they became my support network and my community. And then, of course, it grew and grew and grew and grew. But I didn't do anything like support groups or anything like that. Because I pretty much knew I was the one that used to tell everybody what to do when they had dementia diagnosis. So I kind of had to
Right.
put my nurse's cap on when I would get overwhelmed and feel like I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, what would the nurse do? So that would help me a lot. But I just found a lot of community just through the friends that I did have. And they just happened to be my AlzAuthors friends scattered across the country, nobody in person, and
Yeah.
just people I knew and do my work. I worked in a health setting, so I knew a lot of people that knew a lot about dementia. So I guess I was fortunate in that way.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more opportunities to build community now too. There's a lot of like Roseanne leads daughterhood circles online.
Mhm.
There's a lot more options to join a support group online. I think support groups are also changing. It's not just uh it's not just, my idea was just people in a community center room all crying and trying to one
Mhm.
up each other on how bad everything was. Um, like Veronica in the film, she was young. She was caring for both her grandmother and her mother at some point until her grandma passed from Alzheimer's. And she said, I got so much good information from these support groups, but they were all old white women. And I wanted to, and not that like I loved them, but I also wanted to see a support group where people were younger and it wasn't just their husbands. Um, and that was important to me. So she started her own, and she just started it with I think her first support group was done at a Mexican restaurant with tacos and margaritas.
Which is a great way to
I
have a
know.
support group, I must
Yeah,
say.
I'd
And
go.
she now has the full-fledged nonprofit Care Warriors that does so much in the Dallas Fort Worth area for caregivers. But so I think sometimes the perception of a support group is a little off. And if it is like that, then you can just find a couple of people in your neighborhood,
Hmm.
in your town. When I am
Hmm.
at at a community screening in person and everybody wants to talk to me afterwards, everybody wants to gather around and I say to people, I am happy to shake your hand and listen to your story. But the person that you're sitting next to in this theater, you guys just shared this experience. You are both here because you're in the dementia world. They're going to be here. I'm going to leave town.
Yeah.
Why don't you try exchanging some phone numbers and see if you enjoy each other?
Beautiful.
Like that's an easy way
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
start. Just start with one person. Like I
Yeah.
kind of like this
Mhm.
person and we kind of enjoy talking by Zoom after our person goes to sleep, even
Yeah.
if we're only 2 blocks away. Let's just do that maybe once a month. Just check in,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Roseanne, did you want to jump in?
I just agree with Kitty. Between AlzAuthors and daughterhood, that's how I survived my caregiving journey
Mhm.
because I could read about other people because it's very isolating. And with daughterhood, with the support groups, I mean, we were in person before, and then we when 2020 hit, we went virtual. But it's that hearing from somebody else so that you don't go, oh my, it's not just me. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not the only one that feels like this. And
Yeah.
knowing that somebody else feels that way and makes you feel like, okay, maybe I can do this. And believe me, I wasn't a support group person. I'm Italian. I eat my feelings. I don't talk about my feelings.
I love it.
Wow.
I get it. And I'm not Italian. I don't know. And I found
Yeah,
something.
I'm not Italian either. I don't know quite why I didn't stop eating.
I have to say, I found, so I was working full time as a school psychologist, doing all this, raising the kids and whatever. And before I joined AlzAuthors, I really focused more on my feeling of just what I felt being stuck in the middle between my kids and my parents. And stuck isn't the right word. I had the gift of being able to be both, right? To be the daughter and to be the parent. And I love them both so dearly in so many different ways. And but when I took a little family medical leave act when my mother died, I came back to work, and I'm telling you, people were coming out of the woodwork. First of all, on the school campus, I was the psychologist. They never mind the fact that I was really just there for the kids. Everybody else felt like I was their psychologist, right? And so they were coming to me and they were saying, "What do I do about this, Christy? Now my uncle's on hospice. What do we do about this, Christy? Whatever." And I realized, oh my gosh, there's like people aren't talking about this. And that's why I wrote my book. I wrote the book that I wish I had had.
Yep.
And so I think that people are hungry for connection. That's what I have found. And so I think what you've done, Roseanne, has been fantastic. I think how Al's
Thank
Authors
you.
has jumped up to that has been also so supportive. And then these films, each of them have been so great that way. And it's people need people, right?
We
And
do. We're a social
yeah,
animal.
yeah.
There's always exceptions to the rule, but we just and when you're in such a place that you just have no clue as to what you're doing, to see how others are doing it, even if you look at it and go, that's not at all how I want to do it, but now I know not to take that road.
Right. I mean, well,
Right.
that's absolutely right. I mean, you might have a positive sort of example, and then you might have the null example, like that one I'm not doing.
Yeah.
We'll be going there, but okay. And
What
so
about
it's
that?
important. Yeah. Um, uh, uh, Another comment from the chat, Barbara says, I think a huge message of your movie is that dementia is part of your life, but it shouldn't be all of your life. And I mean, can you respond to that, Kitty? I love that. It's
Absolutely, Barbara. I agree. I think it took me a long time to get there, but I wish I'd have known you in the beginning. You could have said that to me. But, even for somebody who's living with dementia, you don't go home and die. You got years ahead of you. And that's one thing I love about following the baby boomers my whole entire life. Because as soon as things start happening to them, they start changing the equation. And, there's now people on social media who are living with dementia, talking about it, having their own podcasts, doing their own advocacy with politicians, with writing. I mean, it's like, it's like whenever mom and I were out, people would come up to me and pull me aside and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." It's like, what are you sorry for? We're just living our lives. If you super want to help, support people who support government programs that help us out.
mm,
Or come over on Monday afternoon
yeah, yeah,
and
right.
I'll go see a movie and you take care of mom.
Yeah,
Then, like all we're asking for is support.
yeah.
And the journey is always going to be hard, but imagine if we were supported in this, if our dementia person was supported in this.
Also, inviting other people to come see your person is is great. It's great for you, but it's also really great for your person.
And if I could make people feel comfortable, then they were more likely to participate. And that's what I kind of bent over backwards to do. It's like, yeah, mom's a little pissed off today. Just talk about flowers or something, just don't try and give her oatmeal. That didn't go well this morning. But just let people kind of just keep in touch. That was the most important thing to me, so that they were there through the whole thing. And I tell you, at Mom's Memorial, there were people there who were very, very resistant at the beginning of the journey to stay involved. And those people were telling stories, not just about mom as a child or mom as, an adult, but mom as a person living with dementia, and how much they just loved being around her, and some of the changes that were so funny. And they got to finish mom's journey feeling really good about themselves,
Yeah.
because they didn't back off and just wait for the email saying, hey, Gloria died. Want to come to her memorial?
The other piece of the film is trying to see this as a journey. Like, we're not sure what the destination is going to be, what it's going to look like, when we're going to get there, but just being part of it and being in it is just a really important piece, I think, that shows up. And I heard that from so many of your people, the people that you met.
Yeah. It's like what Barbara says, death is a part of life, dementia is a part of death.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to show up or you're not going to show up. That's up
Right.
to you. And you're the one who has to live with that decision.
Yeah. And you said you have stayed in touch with a lot of folks.
I chat with everybody. Veronica and I were emailing back and forth last night, and Roseanne and I get together in Zoom and keep in touch. Roseanne and I, our moms were on such almost the same trajectory. In fact, Roseanne, your mom died 2 months later, 3 months later after my mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Same dementias.
Same dementia. Our fathers had the same cancer.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So we still get together and boost each other's spirits sometimes, because there's still a lot to work through. Chuck and I are new friends now. I get to go to his conferences, and always so happy to meet and see him. And he's doing amazing work with exposed dementia. So do make sure and check that out if you haven't yet.
I will be mentioning Chuck in a moment. I
Good.
just want to say too, I'm also so impressed with not only what you did with this film, Kitty, and how this has become a cause for you and something that you're making so much meaning out of it, but look at what Roseanne is doing, and then also what Veronica has done with Care Warriors. And Marianne, I know, can chime in too, because so many of our authors have gone on to do so many amazing things to help caregivers and people.
Well, and
So,
Mary's in the same boat.
right,
Mary,
yeah, Mary.
I think a lot of us get out of really traumatic experiences and say, hey, I don't want the next generation to have to start from scratch. And I think the dementia journey really inspires that. Not everybody, somebody are like, yep, case closed. I'm out of here. And I
Yeah,
totally understand how you would. In fact,
yeah.
I think those of us who keep staying in it are probably a little crazy ourselves.
Well, the statistics are staggering, so it's great that people are stepping up to try to provide resources for the next folks. Kitty, is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up? We are about at time, and I would love to hear if you have anything more you want to share with us.
I put the audience survey in the chat, so I hope if you have a chance to click on that and fill out the audience survey, that would be awesome. It's anonymous, so you don't have to worry about me retribution if you don't like the film. Um, and then yeah, just community screenings are going on all over the place. If you want to bring the film to your community, please go to the website and get started that way. The film will be online for rent through November. So that link is also on the website, and I included it in all the newsletters. And congratulations, you guys. You're doing it, or you've done it, and it's hard, and you showed up, and that deserves celebration.
Yeah. And what
Sure.
and what's next for you then? Do you have something on the horizon that you're working on?
Somebody asked me this the other day. Well, if you see me working in your McDonald's drive-through, that's because Making a movie will destroy your own personal finances, as will dementia, on top of dementia. Yeah. I would very much like to take the blog and turn it into a dramedy, a narrative series. But I do need to get a job. We're kind of getting to a little bit of desperation for 2026 if we still have a house or not. So I don't know. I may go ahead and try and put together a pitch deck, and I still have contacts in LA and see if there's even the remote interest in doing something like this. Who knows? Life is life.
Yeah. That would be
I
awesome,
thought
though.
I thought you might be able to put a book together.
I could, but I'm such a visual person. What interests me more is the visual telling of the stories.
Okay, well, we will await that, and then, but we will promote the television series that you know.
Yes, if you can find somebody who'd like to executive produce and help me out, that would be great. Thanks everybody for being here. I really
Yes.
appreciate it. And
Thank
again,
you.
AlzAuthors, thank you for this opportunity.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
well,
And don't forget the survey. Even you guys have seen the
Yeah.
film, take the survey.
take the survey.
Okay.
I already got it up. I'm going to take it
Woo-hoo!
right after we do this. I want to thank everyone, all of you here today, and anyone else who's participated in our first film festival. We were so pleased and honored that this film festival has resonated with so many people. And for those of you here today, and for all those who watch later, please join us on December 8th to discuss C. Nathaniel Brown's film, The Present. So it's a beautiful short film that wraps up our film festival perfectly. While our first 4 films focus on the impact of dementia, the caregiver journeys, The Present takes us forward 1 year after losing a parent to dementia. And with Christmas holidays as a backdrop, it's a fitting final film for this year's film festival. C. Nathaniel Brown, Chuck, is an award-winning filmmaker, best-selling author, and storytelling coach. In addition to being CEO of the Atlanta-based media and entertainment company Expected End Entertainment, Brown is founder and executive director of Exposed Dementia Incorporated, a nonprofit organization created to utilize the arts and media to educate about dementia, erase stigma, and advocate for those living with dementia and their care partners. He's also the recipient of several awards, including Maud's Award for Innovation in Alzheimer's Care, Dementia Arts Impact Award, the Leader in Alzheimer's Support Award, and International Impact Book Award in Health. So mark your calendars and join us for our final film on December 8th. And if you're here today, you've already registered, so you'll be able to watch the film. So as I said, you should have all the links to the films and the film discussions. All the information about the film festival is on our website, AlzAuthors.com. To be among the first to know everything AlzAuthors, please consider subscribing to our mailing list. You'll find it on our website. Again, AlzAuthors.com. Sorry. So be sure to visit our blog, our podcast, and shop at AlzAuthors.com to find more resources for your dementia journey. We've got some lovely gifts for caregivers, including our books and our poetry anthology, as well as some branded clothing and accessories. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Blue Sky. We are everywhere, where we share a wealth of resources for dementia journey. Remember, you are not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but we chose to form a choir to create harmony. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for listening to Untangling Alzheimer's and Dementia, an AlzAuthors podcast. For more details on this episode, please see the show notes. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to it on whichever platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasts. For more information on AlzAuthors, please visit AlzAuthors.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please email your thoughts on the podcast to AlzAuthors@gmail.com. Remember, you are not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but we chose to form a choir and create harmony.